Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Building Big with City Skylines episode 60. I'm Enigmius and today it's not going to be a long episode, but we are going to talk about some major steps that we've made towards our next project. You can see still the barren wasteland, what was left of our city after we basically dezoned the entire thing. All that's left of the service buildings have been disabled except for this guy. No wonder everything's costing me so much. No, that's actually, how much was he costing me? 80 a week. That's not bad. We've got all kinds of stuff left over. We've got some of our pumps back online and the sewage outflow. We've got the university that's going to have to be moved and reactivated at some point. Or is that the hospital? No, that's the hospital. Is that the university? That's the university there. You can't really see with the bird in the way. That's the university. Some expensive assets that if we were to just kind of bring them all online, move them into the city and bring them all online, we'd be bankrupt so fast it wouldn't even be funny. In fact, if you recall in the last episode, after we placed the road assets that were going to be the basis for our new city, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million, maybe a little bit less. Well, now we can come over here and sort of take a look at what we've been doing with that. You can see we've made some progress. There are some things going on here that are very city-like in their appearance. And if you look down here, we are basically broke. Now, all I really did is I took all of the assets and I kind of merged them. So these guys here were each one asset. So there were two and then two quarter circles here and then this one here. So this whole thing here is now basically one big asset. It merged together fairly well. A little bit wonky. Things didn't quite go perfect, but that's just because it's really difficult to line up that kind of detail when you're placing them. But for all practical intents and purposes, they seem to be working pretty well. I ran a line out here to connect to the highway for the external connection so we could get people into the city maybe a little bit faster. We've got a collection of assets down here that are all things that we just kind of relocated and moved out of the way. And over here is almost completely empty now. I've moved all of the assets out of here either into the new city or into a temporary holding position. The only thing that's left is the train station that will move whenever we need another train station, whatever that might be. We've got a lot of train stations lying around. We've got 1, 2, 3 here, plus the other one over there, plus the one that's in the city now is 5. It's a lot of train stations for one city, but we'll see how it goes. Now, what ended up happening is that there was a cost, of course, in terms of the roads to merge all these guys together, which was not huge, but it was a cost nonetheless. There was a cost to run this road here. There was a cost to run the train. We do have, there you can see, there's, damn it, I don't want that, there, hey, there we go. You can see this doesn't go anywhere. This trains come in and then there's a dead end, but we've got it running over to here and joining up with the ground level external connection just in case. I just wanted to get it done. There was a cost associated with that, of course. I cleared out the extra roads that were in here and kind of run it around in here for these guys. And the cost of moving all of the assets from wherever they were over to here. We've got a lot of incinerators over here. You can see incinerator. I mean, they're just all over the damn place. And we're probably going to end up using them all. We've got some custom unique assets. We've got the Statue of Wealth or whatever the hell that is. We've got the mall over here that we moved. We've got the 2 solar power plants that we moved. So there's a lot of cost attached to the moving of the assets, but it was still far cheaper than destroying the assets and then buying new ones to place later. So again, not that big of a deal. Once everything was all said and done, once everything was moved, once all of the roads were connected, everything was done, all we had left to do was zone things. It began the race against time to get the city growing and earning tax dollars faster than it was spending them on maintaining all of the things. One other thing that we did very quickly is I stripped down all the water pipes. I left enough of a layout so that in the future it's easy to do what I always talk about, is just grabbing it and sort of extending it wherever we need them to go. But trying to reduce our costs, the maintenance costs on the length of water pipe that we had installed, I just decided to cut it all back, bulldoze it, get rid of it. I don't know how much we actually saved. I don't think it was a lot, but it was one of those cost-saving measures. I wasn't sure if we were going to get enough money coming in from growth in the city to offset what we were spending and things that we couldn't control anymore. We had, at one point, we were losing $12,000 a week, and that was about the worst it got. And then slowly it got better and better and better until we get to the position that we're in now, where we're earning just over $1,000 a week with $1,600 in the bank. And when it finally stopped going negative and started earning again, we were just over $3,000 in the hole. So from a starting budget of almost $1 million to only end up $3,000 in the hole before we were able to recover and bring it back around, so that at least now we're earning again, is, I mean, that's pretty freakish how that kind of worked out. It could have been way worse. I personally would have preferred having a little bit left over at the end of the process, but under the current circumstances, I'll take it. We've got a positive balance. We've got an inflow of cash. It's not all going out anymore. The city is back on the grow. We've got 8,290 people. And now what we're trying to do is monitor the education, because what we've got going on here is I moved elementary schools into the old city so that we've got elementary school coverage. And in this case, we've got 1,400 people who are eligible and a capacity for 900. We need to fix that. So, I mean, this is a good example without going into too much tedious detail. It's not a difficult thing to fix. We grab an elementary school and we say move it for $2,000. And then we find a reasonable spot for it, understanding that we have to figure out what we're going to be doing to butt the rest of the city up to this sort of profile. But in the meantime, these kinds of assets fit very nicely within the tile set. We don't have to worry about them going over. So we can kind of bring it around like that. And I'm leaving it not enough money. Wow. Okay. I'll explain what I'm leaving, and then in the meantime, we'll have earned enough so that we can afford to move the damn elementary school. We've got this road coming up this way through here, and I really should have just connected it right through. But I don't want anything blocking off this part here, so that if I want to connect it straight through later, I can. It's available. We can do that. Same thing for when I placed this park. That was kind of the idea. And now you can see we're losing money even though it says we're gaining. And I think what it was is that these squares here, oh, look at this bugger, not enough workers, and he's just hanging on. This is high density commercial is what these squares were zoned for, but I don't have enough educated people to staff them. So you can see here, not enough workers. We've got 2 educated, 4 well-educated, no highly educated. This is the exact problem that we had with the industrial, or the exact opposite of the problem we had with the industrial setup, where all it wanted was uneducated people and all they had was highly educated. In this case, we need to get the education assets in place so that the citizens can start getting educated, so that they can take up the jobs in the high-density commercial businesses and the office space, and we can bypass a lot of the low-density stuff and the industrial stuff. That's kind of the goal this whole way through. And this guy, it's been dezoned. He doesn't actually have a permit to work there anymore. You can see this. And just in case there's some sort of misunderstanding, we're going to double, triple, quadruple dezone it. And he's just still there. He's still there. In order to help get some demand here for the offices, I had to throw in this low-density commercial just on a temporary basis, because when it was just residential, it said we want commercial. That was the demand. We don't want industrial at all. We don't want any more residential. We just want commercial. So I gave them the high-density commercial, and we didn't have the right kind of education in order for those to work. So I had to give them the low-density just to appease them until we get people educated. And then they started to develop a bit of demand for the office stuff, which is down here. Now, all of this stuff down here is basically shaping up to be the noisy. I think this is actually a mistake. I think what I should be doing is putting the office stuff over here and the commercial stuff over here, because especially the high density commercial is very, very noisy. So we're going to keep that in mind. All of the office space that we zone from this point forward is going to be sent to this area here, sort of the central area, and then the high density commercial will kind of replace these offices with high density commercial as the demand and the education levels warrant it. Look at that. We're back into the negatives. You know what we're going to do? We managed to dodge this bullet, so I don't mind grabbing a wee little loan for $20,000, weekly cost of $403. That's not bad. Total of $21,000, so that we have the money to move the schools so that we can meet the demand for the education and get things up and running a little bit faster. Otherwise, we run the very serious risk of just kind of running the city into the ground because we were too timid to grab the money while we could and do something good with it while we had the opportunity. So we got an elementary school here. We're going to grab it for $2,000. We're going to place it like that. And while we're here, before I forget, having said that this was the plan, I think it's because, yes. See how that's kind of wonky like that? That's because the ends of the assets, this one kind of came up here and stopped here, and then it went down, and then this one came up here and stopped here, and there was a tiny little gap in between. So when I bulldozed the roads going this way and then joined the gap, this is what we get, is this little tiny piece here, and I can't connect in the middle of it. It always wants to snap to either side. So the only way to fix that, this piece here is the piece that I added to join the two after it was bulldozed, with the idea of tidying things up for the shenanigans. So what we can do is we're just going to try very carefully to bring this around, and that was not quite what it was looking for. Oh, that could be a thing. Watch, it's going to want to snap to right there. It's not going to let me put it where I want it to. We want straight. See? Bugger. Turn snapping off. What an ass. Okay, so we're going to try, while we can get the refund for the shenanigans, the best thing to do is run a longer stretch of road so that we don't have connections in the middle. We'll just have a connection here and one here, and then we'll be able to connect straight there. We want to do a curved one with snapping on and around E. I'm okay with that because this was going to have to get out of the way anyways. And we'll continue this straight. You bugger. There, straight and straight up. And like that. So that's how it's going to extend later on if we need it to. We've taken care of that. We're just going to very quickly rezone this little chunk that we wrecked. And this here. And we'll just make sure that we've got power here to here. Good enough. And we have to make sure that we turn on this school. There's just a big switch on the front of this school. Turn it on and off. And it's too high for the kids to jump up and grab, so it's pretty safe that way. So now let's see. We have 300 per school. We just placed one that brings us to 12, so we need another one. While we got the money and before we hit start and continue losing money, we've got to do a little bit of maths in our head to make sure that we're moving enough. That's a high school? Yeah, that's a high school. We don't need that quite yet. We'll take a look at that momentarily. There's an elementary school. Where do we want to put this guy? over here. Yes. We'll put it, we're just going to get rid of some of this commercial. Why? Because we're jerks. That's a little bit too close to the other one. Let's try there, right in the middle of the commercial district. So that brings us up to 1,500 students, and we've got a demand of 1,400 and change. So if we just leave it there, it's going to be very short order before it's telling us that it can't meet the demand anymore. And our biggest thing right now is educating the people so that they can do the things that we need them to do. So we're going to put this guy over here. And now, while we're here, so that's education for elementary schools, high schools. Wow. Eligible 2,254, capacity 2,000. How many high schools do we have? 1, 2. Okay, so if we move one over, that'll bring the demand up to 3,000 out of a the capacity to 3,000 out of a demand of 2,200 a quarter, 2,250 a number. And that should be okay for a while. 4,800 is the cost to move this. We're running out of money already. I'm going to put this one up here. Turn it on. And look at all the happy people. This guy turned it on. Now this is going to be a bit of a spike in the downward direction, even more so now because we've just brought over a bunch of schools and turned them on. So we'll be aware of that and not try to flip out when we see it happening, but realistically speaking, we can expect all kinds of craziness. We have no demand whatsoever for residential, but we do have demand for industrial and more commercial, but we need to educate the people first. So let's see what happens when we start it all up. Oh, look at the happiness, the buildings leveling up. That's what we like to hear when we bring the schools over. Now we're losing 2,500 and change. Yeah, our weekly losses are mounting. But we're attracting a pretty significant number of new people to this city. And I don't expect that the negative trend is going to last forever. See, we're just about to dip into the negative again. But we're only losing like a couple hundred a day instead of 1,000 or 2 a day, which is when things really start to go to hell. Oh, this guy isn't turned on. Great, just what we needed. Another $160 a week for education. What's this saying? Not enough educated workers. But we are educating people, so it's a slow process, and unlike what we were doing with the industrial districts experiment, we know that we're doing things that we need to be doing and that they'll eventually have the outcome that we want. You add schools, eventually people get educated and things start to work. You see now they're happy, there's education there. We've got an abandoned building over here, probably not enough workers. Yeah, worker education too low. But people are by and large happy. Running out of money, yeah, I know. We're $5,000 in the hole, but if I'm looking closely at our weekly costs, we're heading back towards the positive. Very slowly. 20 bucks at a time. We're taking donations in a hat. We're just walking around town asking for people to help us out. And this is kind of what I've been doing, is just setting things up and responding to demand and babysitting and watching, and sometimes doing a little bit of panicking when the money starts to run out. We're almost 10,000 in the hole. Bankruptcy alert. They're offering a $50,000 bailout. Cut services by shutting them down or raising taxes to gain more income. You can also take a loan if any are available. If the above measures are not enough, you can take a bailout to save your city. Disables further achievements. Screw you. We're going to be fine. One of the things that we can do, I think, is... no, we're going to keep the smoke detector. Actually, we're not. We're going to add it in later. if we can afford it. For now, people can buy their own damn smoke detectors, and we'll see. Here we go. Now we're making much more rapid progress towards the positive side of the income spectrum. Here we go. 500, 300, and green. There we go. So this is kind of what it's like. Is we're just kind of playing the balancing game, trying to keep things under control. So the next episode will be pretty much where we left off here, because this is kind of the spot where it doesn't take long to make adjustments and show you guys what I'm doing. A little bit more real time, though not necessarily all real time. And of course, anything I do between this episode and the next one behind the scenes, I'll describe and show you guys what I've been doing as well. So I think we're going to be focusing on commercial. If we've got the education under control, we're going to be setting up our commercial area, which is going to be moved down here, and then the office area is going to be moved up here just because of the noise pollution, and we'll go from there. So if you want to be notified when I add that video, as always, subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are in the information box below the video. Leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.